Welcome back to your SST class. In our previous class, we have studied chapter 2, the archaeological sites, what is archaeology, archaeologists, sources of history. Hope you have understood well. Now, today, we are going to study the literary sources. In our previous class, we have completed our archaeological sources. For example, coins, seals, monuments. So today we are going to study the literary sources. What are literary sources? Literary sources are written documents. Okay. Like the archaeological sources, literary sources also gives us information about the rulers, the reign of their period, uh, about the extent of their kingdom, the lives of the rulers, the lives of ordinary men, their beliefs, their trade and commerce, and everything. These were written documents, so they are called the literary sources. Now, literary sources are of mainly two types: manuscript and inscription. Manuscripts are written documents. They were written earlier when paper was not invented. They were mainly written on dried leaves and dried dead skin of animals like sheep, goat, etc. And inscriptions, on the other hand, were written on hard surfaces like rocks, caves, pillars, etc. Okay. Now, if we come to page 13, you will notice two pictures given. This is a manuscript, okay. That is what I said is a written document before paper was invented, and this was written on dried palm leaves, okay. This was written on dried palm leaves. And this is an inscription that is written on, engraved on hard surfaces such as stones, copper, sheets, etc. And this picture is of Emperor Ashok's pillar, and this inscription is engraved on the pillar. The study of inscriptions is known as epigraphy. What is it called? It is called epigraphy. Now, other written sources, other literary sources. Some are religious writings. Religious writings means writings which are related to religious beliefs. For example, the Puranas. What are the Puranas? Puranas were Hindu religious books. Okay. That gave us a description about the creation, from the creation to the destruction of the universe. Now, one thing I must say that these Puranas, Vedas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, all these things were passed down orally from one generation to another generation for hundreds of years before they were finally written down. Okay, and that is called the oral source of history. What are Tripitakas? Tripitakas are Buddhist religious books. Now we come to autobiography and biographies. Now, autobiography. What is autobiography? Autobiographies are life stories of a person written by the same person. And biographies are life stories written by of a person written by some other person. For example, if you look into this page, this picture, this is a picture of this is a page from the Babarnama. Now, what is Babarnama? Babarnama is an autobiography written by Emperor Babur. Okay, he himself wrote his own life story, so that is why it is called an autobiography, Babarnama, written by Babur. But if we look into this picture, this is a page from the Akbarnama. biography of Emperor Akbar. Now, though Akbar was a very great ruler, but he did not know how to read and write. So his life story was written by a court poet, by his court poet Abu Fazl. Now we come to the third part, that is written records also include accounts of travelers. So many travelers from many different land came to India. They stayed here, they accumulated some facts, some valuable accounts, their experiences, and wrote down in a book. More than 2000 years ago, Megasthenes, a Greek ambassador, visited India during the reign of the ruler Chandragupta Maurya. He wrote about India in his book Indica. Today, Indica is a valuable record of life in India under Mauryan rule. Now, this picture shows Faxian. He was a Chinese traveler, okay, and he came to India almost 1800 years ago, right? And he wrote a book which gave detailed descriptions of social and economic life of Indian people at that time. So, these descriptions or these written documents of the travelers also gave us quite a lot of informations. Now we come to the next part, that why should we preserve these sources? We should preserve these sources because they are the future source of our reference. For example, the archaeological sources, the archaeological objects which the archaeologists have dug out from the earth within, the artifacts, they are one and only. If they are destroyed, children, will we be able to know about our past later? Will the next generations know about them? No. So we have to preserve them very carefully because they have become our national heritage now. How do we preserve them? Monuments, caves, and inscriptions are protected by Archaeological Survey of India. The small things like artifacts like coins, seals, other objects, potteries, utensils, jewelries, clothes, paintings, all these things are kept in museums. Okay, and secular means non-religious texts are preserved in National Archives of India and various state archives. State archives are in different states, but National Archive of India is in Delhi. Now, another thing we have to know, the main difference between archaeologists and historians, because both study past, but what is the main difference? The archaeologists are trained scholars who excavate, means dig out things from the sites, and analyze, means study them carefully and reconstruct history. Once they have dug out the things, dug out the objects from there, they conduct systematic and scientific tests to determine how old they are, what type of materials were used. They study them to know their period in which they were used and all other minute details. On the other hand, what do historians do? Historians, on the other hand, uses both archaeological and literary sources. That means the sources, all the objects which the archaeologists have already dug up, and the literary sources to reconstruct the past. This means that the historians does not have to go to the sites, archaeological sites always. They use whatever the archaeologists have already dug out and the literary sources, and then they look into the objects that are kept in the archives and the museums. They study them, they go through them, and then they create a chain of events to reconstruct the past. The archaeologists go under the directly are involved in the field work, but the historians are not directly involved in the field work. So hope you have understood this chapter well, children. Again, I'll tell you to go through this chapter nicely. From here I have covered from here literary sources, manuscripts, inscriptions, all these religious writings, autobiography, biography and everything, importance of preserving sources of history, and the archaeologists, difference between archaeologists and historians. So this completes your chapter. Hope you have understood well. Read the chapter twice or thrice and try to learn the difficult words, the keywords. The answers to the fill in the blanks and questions will be given to you very soon. Take care, stay at home, stay safe.